a shop on the 14th of December, listening to Christmas carols and thinking of you. How I watched you walk past this window, your two long curls flying out behind you, your belly a little too fat. Our first date. You were half mad that summer, but I didn't know it. You walked to the door and sat right across from me at this table, on that empty red chair I'm staring at, watching the day tick down on the post office clock. I fell in love with who I thought you were, wondering what became of you and when you let that madness take you down to the street and out of my heart. When did you really leave me? Was it when you beat me half to death and left me bleeding on the street? Was it when they took you off to jail? Or was it on that gray-scaled early morning when you woke me up to love me one last time before the madness smothered you? The whirlwind nearly killed me. I know the way you move, your shuffle, that uncut, dirty blonde hair that never goes gray no matter how manic the drugs make you or how many vodkas you spike with cleaning fluid. In clothes that don't quite match and won't quite fit. You have no one left to cover up for you, no one left to make your meals, no one left to dress you when you're high, wearing a child's scarf on a confusion on your unwashed face, as if you don't know quite the whys and wheres of your own misfortune or where you left your tailored suits. I wasn't just afraid for me when the light turned green and we passed each other in the intersection. You probably still too terror-struck by bricks and mortar jails to ever kill me in the street, and too far gone to recognize my face, or ever tell me why. The young constable was stiff and uncomfortable as he told me I was a widow. It was a day I knew it was coming. It was a day I didn't expect. I was numb, but I urged him to sit. Did he want some tea? When he said no, I was glad for that, because my legs buckled and I shook so bad as the water spilled over my own cup. I couldn't keep my hands still or stand long enough to pour it out. And when he left, before the phone began ringing, I stood alone by your grandmother's cactus, staring out the window at the tree with thoughts I could not form as the dog howled uncontrollably. The music couldn't hold you long enough to outwit the beast biting at your heels. Caught between the music and the monster, you chose the monster. Instead, even when you had a choice, and someone found you a home and bought you a piano to play in the park, you chased the beast and rolled in its embrace as you let it take you to the street where it killed you in plain sight. And as a dozen glazed eyes watched you die, because they'd seen you leave your good Samaritan bleeding tears and spitting blood as you pushed her down so you could run back to the street toward the pain that fit you like a glove and called itself your friend. I'd say you couldn't outwit the beast if I didn't know it was your first love. But the truth is really this. So uncomfortable and unfathomable to the rest of us, you were where you wanted to be, even if you said it wasn't. And that is not the worst of it.
It's a pleasure to be here again. It's my second time, I think. I'm an animal rescuer, and some of you love dogs and cats, and some of you have no affinity for them, but hopefully through the poetry that I write, you'll find yourself finding that they have voices that you can't hear. So the first poem is called Phantom. It's a light one. It's a sleepover I had with a girlfriend, and her cat is a huge gray cat with a very strong nose. So in the morning, this is what happened. It's called Phantom. Silky furred feline pads his way over our sleeping forms, hefty, handsome. His Roman profile declares his right to be. Ears chilly need warming, stroking his defined jaw makes his morning complete. Once satisfied, he demands breakfast. Rah! Get up! That's Phantom. Okay, and then often the poetry I write is evoked from death, because our animals die before we do often. And so having been part of the story of how the animal's been chosen, because I'm a rescuer, and then passes away, puts me in people's lives in a very meaningful way. And this is my brother and sister-in-law rescued a dog. So this one's about a dog named Millie, and it's from her perspective. It's called Millie's Story, and I wrote this when she died. He was mean and really scared me. I dreamt of softness and kindness, and there she stood with eyes that said, I understand. I will not leave you here. A new place to call home, and another man, her man, opposite from the first. So opposite, so patient, so kind, giving me time to shake and quiver, never blaming or shaming me, just waiting for his unconditional love in his hand-held treats, making me his other girl. Putting my needs before his, my dream became a reality. I laughed, played, and knew safety. They were not just my best friends, they were my mom and dad. Saying goodbye is not forever. Missing me will be. I love you, Mom and Dad, and thank you.
I was gonna read out of my mom's book too tonight as like more of a tradition because I started last month, but there's some new rules here, so that's okay. I can adapt. My first poem I'm gonna start with, it's called Morning Midnight. Okay, so I'm not gonna try to read terribly fast, even though my heart's like really going really quick right now. It's wrestled with fate's gravity, using the Constitution to behave like whistleblower. Fades into the conquest of Jude's, and mortality pukes away the Notre Dame fire that showed history was once awake last night. The purity of its ball, the leerity of the leering. It capes into the skies of yesterday and behaves like it means something momentarily in the escape of fortitude. Don't sit there and pretend there's never a no. It's that shake that encases a belief and only sounds like a fable. She whispered against the grain with the body language that spoke about mental health. Pretensions bleed through and run away in the voice of dark light that had a tail so far upwards that white signals and lurking tiny danger. I can't coast against words that take my mind away in the breath of a kiss, a suck, and love that makes potions seem relief for the limits that can't multitude because the body's producing. Angst against fear, and Gaia once drew away the forces of Filch Cloud. The swords, the Roman emprites, those white horses drawn like fawn fast together with white wings, fighting wine to beer and replacing the whole lineup with alcohol. That's that one. This one's called Richard's Deer, like D-E-R, not like, Bambi and his, yeah. The night rode upon shifts of people. The dealios of music stage business has no business when the sound of song preys on the audience's reaction. The stares, the emotional confrontations in the head pays no dividends to the mousy, tiny electric reactions of the lights crawling around on gravity surfaces and preaching its hometown, growing town eclipses of its present pain. She's free here behind these tables and red chair table. Her graze of attention to the spills of sounding liquid that's refreshing between the push of billiard pool of mechanisms moving. Meanwhile, the couple off stage, one a violinist, the other a guitar player. The second bleeds across the knobs of gold that have been there here since the various picks of the past. The painting on the bricks outside aligns, the colors, no harshness. It's the thrush of the impending event. The sequence in between can't lie. That's why it's so dangerous. The prevalence of a tablet, the preference of a receipt, don't forget, it's scraping in your eyes and the pupils have to see this. That's that one.
Having a good time tonight. This poem is untitled. The leaves have fallen down around me, my breath taken away. Is this my last sight? The wind blows through me, though it feels like deep knives. Through my soul I am shaken, and I can no longer be awakened. I have fallen, and my feathers no longer have the will to blow away. Next one's titled Weeping Willow. The branches tangled like mangled old bones, swaying in the wind, so powerful. How can such simplicity be so beautiful? Like a dancer with passion, the leaves fall with aggression, yet with such gentleness it sways, persuading me to hear, to see the beauty of the willow tree. My last one's called Freedom. I want freedom to fly as a bird. I want to feel the wind on my face and the soft caressing of the moonlight. I want my cries of howls to be returned as if they were my own, to feel like I belong between the trees and the stars, that the gravity keeping me here can no longer hold me down. But I am limited in this human flesh, forever trapped in my dreams of freedom. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm new here, never done this before. Be gentle with me. I might cry. This is a song, this is not a song I'm not gonna sing, that would be worse. This is a poem called Fall, because it's fall. If you think it's called fall because the leaves all fall from the trees, you'd be wrong. I got some new shoes. I tell you, they are so comfy, they are like floating on clouds. Those clouds took me all over town, and I was riding in the front with my hands above my head and a wahoo coming from behind my eager teeth who wanted a bite of each new flavor of possibility. What a ride. Have you ever been to Disneyland? I liked Disneyland. I liked the rides the most, but I didn't like the lines. I didn't like it when the 2-minute adrenaline rush ends, just like the 2-month autumn hype of sweaters and pumpkin spice, only to end up looking down to find that the clouds I thought on my feet are just shoes and I am falling. I wonder if the Earth's insides are as incongruent with her outsides as mine. When she's full of shine and wonder, is an exploding forceful sadness at a magma core? When her dreary sky and angry thunder are ceaseless, is there captive joy bound fast by her seasons? A million tiny corpses litter my street. You got 336 likes on Instagram, but a million corpses, aren't they beautiful? Knee-high in death to get to the bus stop. I can feel my colors changing too, you know. I am my mother's daughter, after all. Green and strong, flutters and fades. I held on so tightly to it all, secure, certain to be secure forever, but then the earth moved without my permission. Courageous, youthful stems are suddenly frail, and it feels like my fault, but I don't remember making the decision of turning yellow, let alone this wretched brown. I am my mother's daughter. Before I can say, I'll do it later, all of my thoughts turn to stone and then shatter as my frozen mind violently shivers, gathered around a trash can fire holding only a single match. I tend to get wrapped up in the strong arms of beginnings. I nestle in, only to be dropped, free-falling, because beginnings aren't beginnings for very long.
My sister's always been a hard act to follow. So a little bit of background about me. My name's Christopher. I am a registered nurse with an English degree. And these are going to be some poems that kind of capture some of my experiences I've had as a nurse. There's a lot of death in these. So the first one's called Eating the Shoe Bread. We didn't know what to do when you died at the dinner table, forking your way diligently through the mashed potatoes. The nurse ordered that we roll everyone out. One old man complained loudly, "But I'm not finished yet." We mobilized. One intercepted the residents in the hallway, who came back for a glimpse of the drama. Another suggested we cover you up with that extra bed sheet we use to cover the birdcage at night. It didn't look right, though, to have you sitting there like a ghost at the table, so we took it off again. Feeling restless, I cleared your plate like I had so many times before. I took the fork out of your clenched hand and used it to scrape the leftover pieces into the garbage. I removed bottom teeth that had slid out over your lip and put them onto the placemat. Then I wiped your face. It always got so messy. The mandatory policeman almost shouted at us, standing over your ashen face. Who cleared away her food? He told me I had tampered with the evidence. But I was forgiven quickly because you were 93. So all of these poems are based on true experiences. The next poem is called Least of These. I was embarrassed when you told me that I was the only one who really loved you. Because you were not at all easy to love with your pervy gestures, your bariatric smells, and the way you dribbled piss everywhere. It was not easy to love you the time you drank smuggled beer and vomited everywhere just as my shift was ending, and then you had to go to the bed too, and I cleaned you and everything else you had touched, digging into every cavernous crease with soapy claws, every fold of your fat neck. I broke my back on your miserable mound of flesh while you sobbed your drunken sobs. And let's be honest, I know that I am not disciple enough to have visited you in prison without a paycheck. But it made me feel ashamed when you said that, because I only get paid by the hour. And it made me wonder if there is a kind of love, a kind that invokes a price tag. But let's just say that you are a human, and so am I. And let's just say that a love of a brother is free, even though it never really was.
Well, I'm glad I don't have his job. And now I'd like to share one of my own poems. I wrote it about 200 years ago. What should I do? I don't have anything to give. I am poor myself. A voice says, if you have a piece of bread, break it in two, and both will have enough to eat. What should I do when I see somebody sad? Their sadness hurts me so, it breaks my heart. The voice gently says, open your arms, hug your fellow being, be sad together. And after a while, you will laugh together. Whoa. What should I do when I see lonely people? How can I help them when I'm lonely myself? The voice talks again. Greet your friend with a smile. He or she may smile back, and while you smile together, you will not feel lonely. What should I do when somebody does not understand life? How can I help when I don't understand life myself? The voice whispers, tell them what you know. Listen to what they and their friends know. Sooner or later, you will understand what you have to know, and the rest doesn't matter. What should I do when somebody is wandering in the woods without direction? How can I help them when I don't see the road myself? The voice answers, hold each other's hand and go until you find an open meadow. From there, it will be easier to find your way. What should I do when my heart is full of sorrow and pain? How should I rid myself of the feeling? The voice responds, feel your sorrow and pain in your heart and every part of your body. Smell it taste it, see it, put your hand on it, do as you wish, but don't try to rid yourself of it. If you do, it will haunt you, but if you face it, though it will hurt at the moment, it will fade with time. This way, you can feel at ease and make room for happiness.
So the first one I have here was a writing exercise given to me by my girlfriend. She gave me 3 words to include into a poem. So, I left you in the desert, burnt the bridge back home. I heard you crying, saw your tears water the cactus rose. I walked home, but the bridge was ash. I couldn't ride the eagle hanging around my neck. The sky is falling, the sky is falling. Everyone is yelling that the sky is falling. But I'm not worried, because you see, I'll survive. I'll survive because I'm a cowboy, and cowboys do nothing but survive. We've been a dying breed for 90 years, and yet here I am, with countless others still around, still surviving. The religious scream about apocalypse, the politicians about seas engulfing continents. The news regurgitates the words like the trained parrots they are. But I'll survive, no matter what, I'll survive. I've done nothing but survive. I survived car crashes, bull bashes, and horse flips. I'm a cowboy, and I'm still around, scratching out a living with a horse, hat, and rope. You spout off about the end of the world, however you think it's coming, but I'm not worried, because cowboys survive. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. I've got a new poem called May Day, May Day. Grass and leaves glow green in the limpid gold of a May day, cheered on by pom-poms in tall chokecherry trees, announcing pop-up parties with a plan to invite tiny flying friends in, to navigate silken clumps with abandon, so their sticky legs will attract, then randomly attach loose pollen to tacky magic wands in flowers' hearts. It's where alchemy starts. But the white frippery of youth is always en route to dark purple, juicy clumps of fruit, a rock hard seed impregnating each berry with the guarantee of ever more chokecherry trees sprouting new green to stage life's drama again and again. The one where vanilla-scented light becomes a taste over time that is complex, full, and bittersweet on the tongue. Such rampant synesthesia hums and aligns with our own busy minds. All senses engaged thus unwinds for us into pure bliss. All is at hand. We are one with the sun. Then we come upon a woman standing on her front lawn, bent over another kind of wand, this one labeled Killex. She's intent on destroying a few bold outliers in her small patch of grass, that taskmaster demanding chemical fertilizer and regular watering to grow it thick and fast, only for it to be cut weekly to within a half inch of its exuberant life. A Zen-like ritual for some that creates a primal summer smell for sure, mitigated though it is by exhaust fumes from the noisy mower. And all this work is in pursuit of the shiniest green, flat, most astroturf-like expanse, which someone on our street actually has. I'm serious. Their lawn is astroturf. Better living with plastics, I guess. But walking by the woman, we catch our breath and veer away from the bitter man-made cocktail emanating a lethal mix concocted to stop nature dead in its tracks. Then we see a young mother and her toddler riding toward us on a plasma car, weaving back and forth at ground level, laughing it all in happy oblivion, including the toxic cloud. But we just rush by. Another chance meeting of creatures on a sidewalk so narrow. We're all heading somewhere, and this application is still legal. And it is that woman's bit of land. She doesn't want invasive weeds, after all. And the poison in play inexplicably remains for sale at several stores. Here, anyway. It's not in Victoria, by the way. This despite known endocrine disruption and disappearing bees. But the grass is a solid monoculture is the thing, so already a natural repellent of sorts. So why not just physically remove the few offenders, those sunny mop-top flowers that are early food for bees, not to mention the actually edible tender leaves? Why not? Because we've come to expect complete dominion over nature. It's been sanctioned for centuries by religious doctrine. Just another example of a medieval decree that has utterly backfired, bringing us all to our knees, revealing the God idea as the most pernicious ever for humankind, because it trumps nature, the true mother lode, and our only real home. But no surprise when you break it down. Frightened men with their heads on high have outsized egos needing to justify the pervasive itch to win and be on top at all times. Latent superheroes in their own minds. So naturally, they have conjured a male god, endowing him and themselves by proxy with powers of biblical proportion. Hence the Cornwall Alliance for the Stewardship of Creation that views upstart environmentalists as true enemies of civilization, our church and society. It's from whence the UCP, from whence their $30 million war room comes. Try Googling the Cornwall Alliance for the Stewardship of Creation. But back here on Earth again, on that particularly glorious May Day, every time I licked my living lips, the pink flower on my face, I tasted an alarming, penetrating hint of Killex and a real despair, because I know that life down here is actually sticky all the way along, and we're all just walking wands, wicking as we go.
Hello, everybody. Hi. This one's called Lazy Bones. I feel like most people are pretending to be daft, just trying to dodge the draft. No one wants to be a part of the bigger scene. They want to be heard, but not truly living the dream. No dirt under nail, no scrapes to be seen. Work for them is lived through a screen. They pray for the lottery to change their scene, but if they only worked harder, they could attain the green. That matters so much to their puny brains as they troll each other just to be mean. Not a righteous way to be, but karma will give them what they need. I hope it hurts leaving blood stains on scraped knees, so you pay attention changing what you are and who you can be, because it's easy to be tricked by what others say, but don't be fooled by the pack. Have integrity, push on, and don't look back. Because if you do, the trap door will slam shut, causing damage and cracks, stopping you dead in your tracks. This is not exaggeration, it's fact. If you play the victim instead of putting in true effort, then you deserve to get sacked. Plus, nobody has respect for a person like that. So this one, I never really give a backstory to poems, but this one I am for the first time. It's called That Day, and it's called That Day for a reason. When I was a kid, when I was in 8th grade, me and my best friend were walking to school, and we actually found a dead man laying up against a wall. So, yeah, so this is that poem about that. The morning was crisp and soft, laughing and joking when we got to the wall. Up slowly to gray, at first stopped dead in our tracks, thinking run away, but curiosity pushed past. The flight path we walked up to the cold hand, pushed softly with foretoe, hoping for a gasp, but only hit internally, our childhoods dashed. Eventually the police grabbed my shoulder, said, boys, run, get to school fast. Now the rest of our lives is a constant look back. Thank you.
The silver lining throughout my dad's illness for the last 9 months was how much support and love I got from people, both in my, what I call my old homeland and here in my new homeland. So this poem is kind of a commitment on my part. I'm not super happy with it, so I'll probably be coming back with some more on the same topic. But it is important for me to be worthy of your support and your love. So the poem is called To Be Worthy. Who am I today? What is there for me to do or say to be worthy of your love? To cry in private, to cry in public, to cry with pride, to cry and do simultaneously, to do the best I can, to always do more than expected, to punch high when they expect the low, to block the blow, to block another blow, to cry and fight with all my might, to keep fighting fiercely until the time is right to absorb the blow, to beg for mercy when begging is due. Or better yet, to not do the things I might regret. Or better yet, rather than regret, to accept the consequences of each choice I make and roll with them, whatever it takes. And make mistakes, make more mistakes, and roll with the consequences of my mistakes, whatever it takes. You get the point. To err and cry. Not to govern my life to try to be happy all of the time. Not with the purpose to have all the things that could possibly be had. How many rooms can one person sleep in simultaneously anyway? To exist in order to contribute. To be in order not to be happy, but to be useful. To exchange. To emit and to imbibe simultaneously. To keep giving the only two things there are to be had, points at the head, points at the heart. To belong and to participate. To provoke you and to make you laugh. To provoke you till you cry. Cry and fight. Cry and err. Cry and learn. Cry and contribute. Cry and do. To be worthy of your love. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. All right. Elijah's face contorted in a mess of things he didn't understand yet.
It would be years before he knew what broke him. What are a few decades compared to endless millennia after all? He threw away the paper in his hand, not at all cognizant of its importance. It drifted to the ground slowly, regardless of its massive weight, in defiance of the disgusted toss it had been subjected to. He went about his day as reality slowly reared. Things were beginning to fall apart. First his shoelaces, then the stitching on his belt, until finally his fingernails fell out. Not so much as fell, but drifted off. As something flew away with pieces of his existence, he felt a tug in his brain and realized the steel wire he used to keep it together was being pulled out. His face in his hands, he dropped to his knees as his skull opened. Elijah's perception of the world was dangling off of jagged edges, scratches and divots in the bone where contact was made. He peeked through his hands, wishing he would not have to see what he knew was coming. He knew it by name, but would never speak it. A promise was made long before humanity, one he intended to keep. One he would not, though. One made to beings encompassing things we have never discovered. Beings Elijah had grown with, which he knew would end us. They had made us choose between us and himself. Elijah knew pride, not fear, and chose himself, not wanting his work undone. Elijah chose for them to take him away from here. This wasn't his home anyways. He never knew regret. This is what he recalled, as the smallest parts of his being were stretching across the cosmos. He recalled they never specified where they were to take him. They had an end to their lifespan, which they knew and they shared with him, but they also knew he did not. But also they knew that he was held together by simple human patchwork. He forgot he wasn't he before this. He wasn't human. He only crafted himself in the image. They knew this, and he had forgotten. He had forgotten his fragility and no longer has any way to scream. Now it has been 700 years beyond humanity, yet he recalls a letter. Upon the letter is the great snake. Upon the letter is the truth. The wrinkled sheet of paper containing the massive weight of his existence blew away in the wind. Getting caught in a storm drain in water, it dissolved into nothing. Molecules lost forever to the planet. The state of his truth never to be seen or uttered again. And so Elijah is lost to the unknowable infinity. No trace of him anywhere, no dust, no fusion-worthy atom superheating in a star, only the desire to know love again. Trapped far past the lifespan of humanity, past those who turned him inside out, Elijah knows desire. Elijah knows the letter should have gone in his pocket. That's it for that one. Dark things pull sinew, tendon curls at loss of tension, shoulders cramp in refusal to twist, socket rot and old cartilage crack together, a burning sensation goes deep. Ink bleeds from bone, no longer any symbols in flesh for incantations to take root, no magic to brace against. The union is consummated ritually, golden cups filled with equally golden viscosity. Cheers reverberate through empty spinal column while lamentations are never shared. Offering a soul to the great jaw must be celebrated, even if eyes stare well beyond this plane into some eldritch ditch. The great things looking back as they tend their garden. No screams, only cheers reverberate in the grand hall, off of wet stone, slick for other reasons. They bounce our jubilation back, and we cheer more to drown out the screams. Yeah, that was it. Sorry.
I set a goal for myself this year to lean into vulnerability, and now I'm wishing I had not set that goal. Being comfortable feels much better than being uncomfortable. So this first poem is called Years of Unconsciousness. I think I hear the distant beating of a drum, then realize the rhythm is coming from my heart, too hard and too fast. I think someone is opening the icebox as cool air pricks and dries the beads of sweat on my clammy forehead. I think I'm on a merry-go-round, spinning wildly, the scenes around me blurring into a modeled Picasso. I think I hear the faraway sound of the ocean as though seashells are pressing against both ears. I think it must be the dead of night as I lift leaden limbs to remove the darkness that has wrapped itself around me. I open my eyes to eyes that are staring and to mouths moving silently. I emerge from the murk of unconsciousness into the light of day, glimpsing my distorted reflection in the steel cupboard, wondering why my black hair is no longer black, but gray. Thanks. Okay, this next one is called Strontian. I'm shaking. And Strontian is a little town that's just nestled in the Scottish Highlands. Across the stone bridge stand trees taller and older than my eyes have ever seen. I step onto the verdant path, shielded by a moss-covered wall, guided by an almost still stream. Inhaling the calm oceanic air, hushed by spirits long since past. Round the bend, I see their stone-cold faces peering through the mist, weathered, undisturbed. Their story unfolds. Isabel Cameron, an infant son, died 1823, Maggie 2 and Callum 7. Their silence and my heart broken for lives too brief. On my knees, I pray to a God who knows that this is my blood. I rise as the sun descends. My soul light as noonday. I am discovered in these cold gray faces, hidden for so long on the grassy hill of Strontian.
Baguette, demi-baguette, midi baguette, Wi-Fi baguette. Some have done this with sheep, bodies, others with dogs, or shadows in caves. Only Mamanese is universal. Loaf, Attila, Tortilla the Hun, bread and circuses, Paguesikon. Some they think it's poison. There is no war in Bao Sing Se. Bao, pain, pau, Brötchen, Babka, Scone, Muffin, der Muffin, das Muffin. Pan, pan, pa. It's not what you say, it's what they think of. Challah, challah. The French don't call it French toast. Bannock, fry bread. There is no war in Barmbrack. Pa. Non-bread, non-bread. Plains, Northern Cree, wood, swampy. I say bread, you think dough? Come get this bread. Je veux dire, ich will sagen, podría parlar, podría bombi. I want to say and must anticipate the historically and circumstantially conditioned imagos of your bread. That's what trigger words are. Everybody loves pizza. Pita, 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 pita everywhere. Come here, my little croissant. Thank you. Poetic epistle. Dear Mildred, my firstborn cat. You are a glorious, voluptuous olive stuffed full of goodness. Pimento means pepper. I'm not sure how to say that in cat language. I'm sorry you lost weight, and I'm sorry you gained it back. Dear Ellie Paite Mimo, meow meow, meow 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 meow, meow meow meow, meow meow.
Been a while. It's nice seeing some new faces and old faces. Thank you. I also run a poetry page on Instagram. If you like my stuff, it's called Poetry by Mads. All right, so this is the first one. The fires were extinguished. Days in bed thinking, days she wished her bed was a coffin, her room the catacomb, holding memories of what she once was. Shards of the potential the past had held. She embraced the cold and led it to her heart, and she froze. and she remained in this state of reflection. What is the purpose? Is any of it worth it? She considered her impact, her legacy, and there she found what she needed. If she went on, she would pave the path for the ones who came after her. She could leave behind guidance and hope. So she expelled the cold. She rose from her death-like state and felt the sun upon her skin. She remembered the flame, and the fires were reborn, for the flame never forgets. Thank you. This one is called As You Rest. It's about the day that I lost my grandmother. I remember the phone call so vividly, the feeling of my heart stopping when it heard yours had, the rush to the hospital. My clothes reeked of death after the countless hours of holding your rough, calloused hand. The sound of the machines that kept your heart beating kept mine going too. I remember the serious grown-up face Mom had on when she told me what was going to happen. I couldn't comprehend why they would turn off the machine that kept your heart from stopping again. The smell grew stronger as my heart begged for mercy. The strangers who filled the room, the foreign hands pressing on my shoulder, the prayers we were told to recite. I tried to put on a brave face, for across the room, a son's tears were slipping down a face so similar to yours. A rough, calloused hand, just like your own, in need of holding. The stench so strong as the seconds ticked away. It was two souls that departed that night. One at rest, the other doomed to live in purgatory, patiently waiting for the day they would see you waiting in the garden. Thank you.
Please welcome Sonia, aka Trixie, to the stage. I don't know who's coming tonight. Is it Trixie or is it Sonia? No. Come on, we want Trixie. We want Trixie. We want Trixie. Come on. We want Trixie.
Sorry to disappoint, it's just me. I'm just going to tell you that this is probably the most non-cerebral poetry you're going to hear tonight. And I'm taking advantage of the fact that I'm one of the sponsors and I'm a hair person. So I have put together some hair coups. The consultation, desiring a change, perhaps chopping off the mall bangs. The 80s are gone. The next one is called Show Me the Monet. Red and blue hair dye, painting a human canvas with wearable art. The next one is Breathing Easy. Old man with nose hair, long enough to form dreadlocks, trimmed, no extra charge. The next one's called You're Late. Client shows up late. Stylist must cut too quickly. Haircut looks like. The next one is called Bubbles and Bliss. Let me wash your hair. Lush shampoo and scalp massage, rinsing stress away. And the last one's called The Blessing, and I love, it is a blessing because I always tell people that my job feels like I'm having coffee with my friends all day long and I get paid for it. So it's called The Blessing. Doing hair all day, touching the body and soul of you and I both.
I'll start. There's a lot of protest poetry. I'm sure you've all read the news. I will not grin and bear you for the sake of propriety, and I certainly will not sit and smile for your antique notions of docility. I will scream with the anger of all the unspoken crimes by your hand. This one's called Conform. I title everything, but it's
I don't like to title everything. Go ahead and thrive on that wretched taste you call freedom, but drop my body on the steps of the people who sold it to you. Capitalism kills, but my body will be painted with the revolution. My blood will run. It will run through the streets, and it will dry in the cracks for the next generation. This one's called Rebirth, targeted specifically to all of the older gentlemen and women here. You almost had us. It was very clever, really, letting us believe you were making our lives easier, better. But we are learning again. We will see through your lies. We will knit revolt into our lives, and we will grow the seeds of rebellion. The blood of our grandmothers is stronger than you will ever know. It's a little bit of a change, but instead of fists, you threw words that hit me in the chest and weighed me down until I had no breath to fight. Instead, I retreated into the safety net spun over years by the fragile hands of tainted youth. Your words get caught where they lingered long after you thought you would kiss them away. But you don't see me struggle to undo the knots that you tied so I could breathe again.
This is one of the few occasions where I've taken an opportunity to share some of the poems I write. The first one is entitled Reflection. And this was just a moment of self-ponderance that I had that inspired this poem. I gaze upon you. What do I see? I see myself, and I'm staring at me. There it is. There I am. It's myself, and I'm looking at me. When examined closer, a window I see. A window that shows the beauty inside me. What a man I've become, what a person beloved. Things I'd forgotten and seldom thought of. What gazes back and makes plain to see is a perfect projection of what my life is to me. Do I see a man who's done great things, or a person who's afraid to spread out their wings? Whichever you saw, remember to see. Each glance in the mirror reflects the truth of what we are now and who we've chosen to be. The second poem was sort of inspired on a whim here tonight. My beloved grandmother had a professional business writing poems for special occasions, a business that she lovingly called Rhymes for a Reason. And so this is dedicated to my grandmother. Rhymes for a reason. Written for time and for season. Life is a journey, a story we tell. At times we celebrate, and at others we yell. For every day in life, we rejoice, living life choice by choice. Life is a journey, a story we tell. At times we celebrate, What is the purpose of our being here? Our existence shortens day by day. With each one, death's growing nearer. Just remember to live, to love, and to cheer. Cherish each moment, each day, each year. Our stories we share through writing and verse. What is life? A gift? A curse? No matter when We are in time or in season. Let us never forget to write, to note all our wonderful words that express the very purpose of our rhymes for a reason. That's all I have. Thank you very much.